Welcome to Session 3 of our Executive English Communication Training. In this session, we will focus on the learning objectives that are essential for building effective communication in public service. As public servants, the way we communicate directly affects public trust. Therefore, today we are encouraged to communicate with clarity, empathy, and professionalism. Our first objective is to use formal and professional language. This means we must communicate clearly, respectfully, and appropriately in every public interaction, whether in meetings, media interviews, or daily communication with the community. Second, we will learn how to respond diplomatically to public concerns. In many situations, people may come with complaints, criticism, or questions. Our role is to acknowledge their concerns, show empathy, and provide balanced and constructive responses. Third, we must be able to handle complaints professionally. Professionalism means responding politely, taking responsibility when necessary, and focusing on solutions instead of emotions. A calm and respectful response can turn a difficult situation into an opportunity to build trust. Fourth, we will discuss how to manage communication under pressure. Public communication is not always easy. During challenging situations, we must remain calm, deliver the right message, and maintain public confidence. Why are these objectives important? Because effective communication helps us build public trust, strengthen public relations, improve service quality, and enhance the reputation of our institution. Remember, effective communication is not only about speaking well. It is about building understanding, trust, and positive relationships with the public. Together, let us deliver better communication for a better Bekasi.
In public and media communication, the opening statement is extremely important. A strong opening creates a positive first impression and helps build public trust from the very beginning. Today, we will learn how to open a public statement using diplomatic, professional, and respectful language. Why does the opening matter? First, it represents the image of the institution. The way we begin a statement reflects the professionalism and credibility of our organization. Second, it helps build public trust. When people hear a calm, respectful, and confident opening, they are more likely to listen and trust the message we deliver. Third, it shows professionalism. A good opening demonstrates that we are prepared, responsible, and capable of handling communication properly. Now, let us look at several key expressions commonly used in public communication. Some useful expressions include, "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending today's press briefing. We appreciate the opportunity to clarify this matter. Allow me to explain the current situation. We would like to address the concerns raised by the public." These expressions help create a respectful and diplomatic tone during communication with the public and media. Here is an example of a professional opening statement. "Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for attending today's media briefing. We would like to address the concerns raised by the public regarding service delays." This type of opening is polite, clear, and focused on the issue being discussed. To create a strong opening, remember these important tips. Start with a polite greeting. Clearly state the purpose of the statement, show empathy toward the public, and always use formal and diplomatic language. Effective communication begins with a strong and professional opening. When we communicate with clarity and integrity, we strengthen public confidence and serve the community better. Together, we build a better Bekasi.
The previous session, we learned how to open a public statement professionally. Now, in this session, we will continue with another important communication skill, acknowledging public concerns. Acknowledging public concerns is an essential step in building empathy, showing care, and maintaining positive relationships with the community. Why is this important? First, it shows empathy. When we recognize public concerns, people feel heard and understood. This demonstrates that we genuinely care about their experiences and feelings. Second, it helps build public trust. Communities are more likely to trust institutions that openly listen and respond to their concerns. Third, it protects the image and reputation of the institution. Respectful and empathetic communication strengthens the credibility of government and public organizations. And fourth, it supports positive public relations. Good communication encourages collaboration and mutual understanding between institutions and society. Now, let us look at some key expressions that can be used when acknowledging public concerns. For example, we understand the concerns raised by the community. We acknowledge the issue that has been brought to our attention. We appreciate the feedback provided by the public. The government takes this matter seriously. These expressions help us communicate empathy, responsibility, and professionalism. Here is an example. Officer, We understand the public's frustration regarding the delay and appreciate the feedback provided by the community. This statement is effective because it recognizes public feelings while maintaining a calm and respectful tone. To acknowledge concerns effectively, remember these important tips. Listen carefully before responding, use empathetic language, respond calmly and clearly, and maintain positive communication. There are also several important things we should do. Acknowledge the issue honestly, show empathy, use polite and professional language, and focus on solutions and improvements. At the same time, we should avoid ignoring public complaints, blaming other parties, giving defensive responses, or making unrealistic promises. Remember, acknowledging public concerns is not a sign of weakness. It is a reflection of leadership, empathy, and effective communication. Through respectful communication, we can strengthen trust, maintain public confidence, and provide better service to the community.
In the previous segment, we discussed how to acknowledge public concerns with empathy and professionalism. Now, we will continue with another essential communication skill in public service: responding to media questions. In today's digital era, communication with the media plays a very important role in shaping public perception. Clear, accurate, and professional answers help build and maintain public trust. Why is responding to media questions important? First, our answers must be clear. Information delivered to the media should be simple, direct, and easy for the public to understand. Second, we must avoid speculation. As public officials, we should focus only on verified facts and official information. Third, professionalism is essential. We must always use polite language, maintain composure, and show respect toward journalists and the public. And fourth, good responses help maintain public trust. Professional communication strengthens the credibility of the institution. Now, let us look at several useful expressions commonly used when responding to media questions. For example, "Thank you for your question. That is an important issue. Allow me to clarify the situation. At this stage, the investigation is ongoing." These expressions help create a calm, respectful, and professional atmosphere during interviews or press conferences. Here is an example dialogue. Journalist: "Why was the digital system disrupted?" Officer: "Thank you for your question. At this stage, the investigation is still underway." This response is effective because it answers professionally without making assumptions or spreading unverified information. Now, let us review several strategies for handling media questions. If the media asks, "When will the problem be resolved?" a professional response could be, "The relevant team is working intensively, and updates will be provided soon." If asked, "Who is responsible for this issue?" a careful response would be, "The matter is under evaluation, and we will share the results when appropriate." And if asked, "Are there any risks to the public?" an appropriate answer could be, "Public safety remains our top priority, and all necessary measures are in place." To answer media questions effectively, remember these important tips. Listen carefully before answering, respond directly and relevantly, use accurate data and facts, and remain calm and polite at all times. Remember, effective communication with the media is not only about answering questions. It is about delivering accurate information, maintaining professionalism, and strengthening public confidence. The right answer today helps build public trust for the future.
In the previous sessions, we discussed how to open public statements professionally, acknowledge public concerns, and respond to media questions effectively. Now, we will continue with another very important topic in public interaction: handling complaints professionally. Complaints are a normal part of public service. In fact, complaints provide an opportunity for us to improve service quality and strengthen public trust. Why is professional complaint handling important? First, it requires a quick response. People expect their concerns to be heard and addressed promptly. A fast response shows responsibility and commitment. Second, we must use polite and respectful language. Even in difficult situations, professionalism and courtesy must always come first. Third, we should focus on solutions. Instead of arguing or defending ourselves, we need to direct the conversation toward improvement and problem solving. And fourth, proper complaint handling helps build public trust. Professional service creates confidence, loyalty, and a positive image of the institution. Now, let us look at several useful expressions for handling complaints professionally. For example, we sincerely apologize for the inconvenience. We regret any inconvenience caused. We appreciate your patience and understanding. Your feedback is valuable to us. We are committed to resolving this issue. These expressions show empathy, responsibility, and commitment to improvement. Here is an example of professional communication. Officer, we sincerely apologize for the service disruption and appreciate your patience while improvements are being made. This response is effective because it combines sincerity, politeness, and reassurance. Now, let us discuss the proper steps for handling complaints. First, listen carefully. Allow the person to explain the issue completely without interruption. Second, understand the problem. Identify the needs, expectations, and concerns behind the complaint. Third, provide an appropriate response. Respond calmly, politely, and professionally. Fourth, offer solutions. Provide realistic actions or follow-up steps to resolve the issue. And finally, follow up. Ensure that the problem has been handled properly and maintain good communication. There are also important things we should always do. Listen patiently, show empathy and understanding, use positive and polite language, explain the solution clearly, and continue to improve service quality. At the same time, we should avoid becoming emotional, blaming others, giving defensive responses, ignoring complaints, or making unrealistic promises. Remember, complaints handled professionally today can become public trust and loyalty in the future. Through empathy, professionalism, and solution-oriented communication, we can provide better service and build stronger relationships with the community.
In the previous sessions, we learned how to open public statements professionally, acknowledge public concerns, and handle complaints effectively. Now, we will continue with another essential communication skill in public service: responding to media questions. Communication with the media is very important because every statement delivered to journalists may influence public opinion and public trust. Therefore, our responses must always be clear, accurate, calm, and professional. Why is responding to media questions important? First, answers must be clear. Information should be delivered briefly, directly, and in a way that is easy for the public to understand. Second, we must avoid speculation. Public officials should only communicate verified facts and official information, not assumptions or rumors. Third, professionalism must always be maintained. Even under pressure, we should remain polite, respectful, and composed. And fourth, good communication helps maintain public trust. Accurate and professional answers strengthen the credibility of our institution. Now, let us review several key expressions commonly used when answering media questions. For example, thank you for your question. That is an important issue. Allow me to clarify the situation. At this stage, the investigation is ongoing. These expressions help us answer diplomatically while maintaining a professional tone. Let us look at a simple example dialogue. Journalist: why was the digital system disrupted? Officer: thank you for your question. At this stage, the investigation is still underway. This response is effective because it acknowledges the question, provides available information, and avoids speculation. Now, let us discuss several strategies for answering difficult media questions. If the media asks, when will the problem be resolved? A professional response could be, the relevant team is working intensively, and updates will be provided soon. If asked, who is responsible for this issue? A careful response may be, the matter is currently under evaluation, and the results will be shared at the appropriate time. And if asked, are there any risks to the public? An appropriate response could be, public safety remains our top priority, and all necessary measures are currently in place. To answer media questions effectively, remember these important tips. Listen carefully before responding, answer directly and stay relevant, use accurate facts and data, and remain calm and polite. Remember, communication with the media is not simply about giving answers. It is about providing accurate information, protecting public confidence, and representing the institution professionally. The right answer today helps build public trust for the future.
In the previous sessions, we learned how to respond to media questions professionally and effectively. Now, we will continue with another important skill in public communication: handling difficult questions wisely. Difficult questions may arise at any time, especially during press conferences, public discussions, or crisis situations. The way we respond to these questions can greatly influence public trust and the reputation of our institution. Why is this important? First, wise responses help maintain the institution's image. Professional communication reflects credibility, responsibility, and leadership. Second, it helps avoid communication risks. Careless or emotional responses may create misunderstanding, confusion, or even public controversy. Third, it helps build public trust. When officials respond calmly and professionally, the public feels more confident in the institution. And fourth, difficult questions should always be directed toward solutions. Our focus should not be on conflict, but on actions and improvements. Now, let us discuss several important strategies for answering difficult questions. First, listen carefully. Make sure we fully understand the question before responding. Second, answer wisely. Provide responses based only on verified facts and available information. Third, focus on solutions. Whenever possible, direct the discussion toward actions, improvements, or future steps. And fourth, end with commitment. Show responsibility and commitment to follow up actions when necessary. Now, let us review several safe and effective expressions. For example, what we can confirm at this stage is, "Let me check that information and get back to you." That is an important question. Here is what I can share. I understand your concern. We will provide an update as soon as possible. These expressions help maintain professionalism while avoiding speculation or emotional reactions. There are also several important principles we should always remember. Be honest and objective, use neutral and professional language, avoid speculation and assumptions, focus on facts and solutions, and demonstrate openness and responsibility. At the same time, we should avoid giving speculative answers, answering beyond our authority, avoiding questions completely, responding emotionally or defensively, or making promises that cannot be fulfilled. To handle difficult questions effectively, follow this response flow. Listen carefully, understand the question, respond with verified facts, direct the discussion toward solutions, and close with commitment and professionalism. Remember, wise communication today helps protect public trust tomorrow. Professionalism, empathy, and solution-oriented communication are the keys to effective public interaction.
In the previous sessions, we discussed how to respond to difficult questions wisely and professionally. Now, we will continue with another essential skill in public interaction: managing communication under pressure. Pressure can arise at any time, during crises, public criticism, emergency situations, or intense media attention. In such situations, effective communication is extremely important to maintain public trust and stability. Why is managing communication under pressure important? First, it helps maintain public trust. Calm and professional responses reassure the public and reduce unnecessary panic or confusion. Second, it helps prevent escalation. Careless communication may worsen tension and create misunderstanding. Third, it protects the reputation of the institution. Professional communication reflects integrity, credibility, and leadership. And fourth, it encourages focus on solutions and action. The public wants to know not only what happened, but also what actions are being taken. Now, let us discuss several important steps for managing communication under pressure. First, understand the situation clearly. Before responding, make sure we understand the issue and gather accurate information. Second, remain calm. Control emotions, stay composed, and avoid reacting impulsively. Third, choose the right language. Use clear, respectful, and professional language that is easy to understand. Fourth, communicate verified facts. Only deliver information that has been confirmed and avoid speculation. And finally, close with solutions and commitment. Explain the next steps and demonstrate responsibility and empathy. Now, let us look at several practical responses commonly used under pressure. If information is still unclear, we may say, "Let me check the information and get back to you." If the issue is still developing, as I mentioned earlier, the situation is still under evaluation. If the question is sensitive, that is an important question. What I can share now is, and if the public feels anxious, I understand your concern. We are doing our best to address this situation. These expressions help maintain professionalism while reassuring the public. There are also important things we should always do. Stay calm and control emotions, use polite and professional language, provide verified information, listen carefully and show empathy, and demonstrate commitment and responsibility. At the same time, we should avoid blaming others, responding emotionally, delivering unverified information, ignoring questions, or communicating in anger. To communicate effectively under pressure, we must uphold several important principles: integrity, accountability, empathy, transparency, and solution-oriented communication. Remember, pressure is a test of professionalism. The way we communicate during difficult moments reflects the true quality of our leadership and institution. Good communication today builds stronger public trust for tomorrow. In the previous sessions, we learned how to communicate professionally under pressure. Now, we come to the final part of public communication, closing a public statement professionally. A strong closing is very important because it leaves a lasting impression, strengthens public trust, and reinforces the institution's commitment to the community. Why is a professional closing important? First, it creates a positive final impression. The way we end a statement reflects professionalism, confidence, and respect toward the audience. Second, it strengthens public trust. A clear and sincere closing demonstrates transparency, accountability, and commitment. Third, it helps maintain public stability. Professional closing statements can reduce uncertainty, speculation, and public anxiety. And fourth, it directs the public toward the next steps. People need clear information about what actions will follow after the statement. Now, let us discuss the key elements of an effective closing statement. First, summarize the main message. Briefly remind the audience about the key points that have been communicated. Second, reaffirm commitment. Show the institution's dedication to solving problems and serving the public responsibly. Third, provide information about the next steps. Explain what actions will be taken or when further updates will be shared. Fourth, express appreciation. Thank the audience, the media, or the public for their attention, patience, and support. And finally, end with a positive message. Close the statement with hope, reassurance, and optimism. Now, let us look at several examples of professional closing expressions. For example, thank you for your attention and continued support. We are committed to keeping you informed and ensuring the best possible outcome. Together, we can build a safer, stronger, and more trusted community. These statements help end communication in a respectful, professional, and encouraging manner. To create a strong closing, remember this simple formula. Summarize the key message, reaffirm commitment, explain the next steps, express appreciation, and finish with a positive statement. There are also important things we should always do. Deliver the closing confidently, use positive and inclusive language, reinforce commitment and follow-up actions, show empathy and appreciation, and end with hope and optimism. At the same time, we should avoid ending the statement too abruptly, giving unclear promises, ignoring important questions, becoming defensive, or leaving the audience confused. Remember, a professional closing is not simply the end of communication. It is the beginning of stronger public trust and better relationships with the community. Through professional, empathetic, and transparent communication, we can strengthen confidence and build a better public service culture.
In the previous sessions, we discussed professional public interaction, including handling media questions, difficult situations, and communication under pressure. Now, we will continue with one of the most critical areas in public communication, handling crisis communication professionally. A crisis can happen at any time: natural disasters, technical disruptions, public safety incidents, or emergency situations. In these moments, communication must be fast, transparent, calm, and responsible. Effective crisis communication helps maintain public trust and stabilize the situation. Why is crisis communication important? First, transparency is essential. The public needs clear and honest information to reduce confusion and uncertainty. Second, rapid communication matters. Quick responses help prevent rumors, misinformation, and panic. Third, institutional responsiveness is crucial. People expect institutions to act responsibly, professionally, and in coordination during a crisis. And fourth, effective crisis communication helps maintain public trust. When communication is clear and responsible, the public feels safer and more confident. Now, let us review several key expressions commonly used in crisis communication. For example, immediate action has been taken. We are committed to transparency. Public safety remains our top priority. Further updates will be provided soon. These expressions communicate responsibility, reassurance, and professionalism. Here is an example of a professional crisis statement. Immediate action has been taken to address the situation. Emergency response teams are currently on the ground, and our top priority is the safety and well-being of the public. This statement is effective because it provides action, reassurance, and commitment. Now, let us discuss the proper flow of crisis communication. First, identify the issue. Understand the situation carefully and gather initial information. Second, gather accurate data. Ensure that information comes from verified and reliable sources. Third, deliver an official response. Communicate clearly, calmly, and professionally to the public and media. Fourth, respond to public questions. Provide accurate explanations while avoiding speculation. And finally, provide continuous updates. Keep the public informed as the situation develops. In crisis situations, coordination and collaboration are also very important. Institutions must work together and ensure that all information comes from official and trusted sources. Now, let us review several important things we should always do during crisis communication. Speak calmly and clearly, use verified information, show empathy, focus on solutions, and maintain professionalism. At the same time, we must avoid spreading speculation, creating panic, blaming other parties, giving emotional responses, or ignoring public concerns. There are also several quick tips for handling crisis communication. Deliver information as quickly as possible, use official and trustworthy communication channels, avoid speculation and assumptions, and prioritize public safety above everything else. Remember, communication during a crisis is not only about delivering information. It is about building stability, maintaining trust, and giving hope to the public. Professional communication during difficult times reflects the true strength of leadership and public service.
In the previous sessions, we learned how to open and close public statements professionally, respond to media questions, and communicate effectively under pressure. Now, we will continue with another important communication skill, using transition expressions. Transition expressions are essential in public speaking because they help connect ideas, maintain clarity, and guide the audience smoothly from one point to another. A good transition keeps communication organized, professional, and easy to follow. Why do transition expressions matter? First, they help organize communication. Transitions structure our ideas so the audience can follow the message more easily. Second, they improve presentation flow. A smooth flow makes communication more logical, clear, and professional. Third, transitions strengthen professionalism. Well-structured communication reflects preparation, confidence, and leadership. And fourth, they help maintain audience engagement. Clear transitions keep listeners focused and reduce confusion. Now, let us look at several useful transition expressions commonly used in public communication. When moving to a new topic, we can say, "Let us move on to the next issue." Now let's turn to next, I would like to discuss. When adding information, we may use furthermore. In addition to that, also, it is important to note. When continuing a point, we can say moreover. Besides that, another important point is, and when concluding or summarizing, we may say in conclusion. To summarize, overall, the main point is, these expressions help our message sound more connected, natural, and professional. Now, let us review several tips for using transitions effectively. First, be relevant. Use transitions that match the purpose and direction of your message. Second, keep transitions natural. Avoid overusing transition words so communication still sounds smooth and authentic. Third, focus on clarity. Transitions should help the audience understand the message more easily. And fourth, consider your audience. Use simple, clear, and audience-friendly expressions. Here is an example in context. Regarding the current program evaluation, we have identified several key challenges. Furthermore, we will discuss our proposed solutions. Let us now move on to the next issue, which is budget optimization. Notice how each transition smoothly guides the audience from one idea to the next. To create effective communication flow, remember this simple process. Introduce the topic, use transition expressions, deliver the main point, keep the audience engaged, and guide them toward understanding. Remember, strong communication is not only about what we say, it is also about how we connect ideas clearly and professionally. Good transitions create understanding. Smooth transitions build confidence. In the previous sessions, we learned how to manage public interaction professionally, including handling media communication, difficult questions, and crisis situations. Now, we come to another important part of public communication, closing a public statement with impact. A strong closing leaves a positive impression, strengthens public trust, and inspires confidence in the institution. As the quote on this slide reminds us, a good closing is not the end of communication. It is the beginning of trust. Why is a professional closing important? First, it demonstrates professionalism. A confident and respectful closing reflects leadership, clarity, and credibility. Second, it provides reassurance. The public wants to feel confident that the situation is being handled properly. Third, it reinforces commitment. A strong closing reminds the audience that the institution remains dedicated to action, service, and continuous improvement. And fourth, it expresses appreciation. Thanking the audience shows respect and strengthens positive relationships with the community. Now, let us review the key elements of an effective closing. First, summarize the key points. Briefly restate the main message so the audience clearly remembers the important information. Second, reassure the public. Give confidence that solutions are in progress and the institution remains committed. Third, reinforce commitment. Highlight the organization's responsibility and dedication to improvement. And finally, express appreciation. Thank the audience for their time, attention, patience, and support. Now, let us look at several useful closing expressions. For example, thank you for your attention. We appreciate your time and continued trust. We remain committed to serving you with integrity and dedication. Rest assured, we will continue to work hard for the best outcome. Together, we can build a better and stronger community. Thank you, and stay safe. These expressions help end communication with professionalism, warmth, and confidence. Here is an example of a professional closing statement. In closing, we would like to thank you for your attention and continued trust. We are fully committed to addressing these issues with integrity and dedication. Together, we can build a better and stronger Bekasi. Thank you. This type of closing is effective because it combines appreciation, reassurance, commitment, and optimism. To deliver a strong closing, remember these important tips. Speak clearly and confidently, use a warm and sincere tone, maintain eye contact with the audience, and end with positivity and confidence. A simple framework for an effective closing is recap, reassure, commit, and thank. Remember, a strong closing is more than just final words. It is a promise of commitment to the public. Professional communication builds trust. Reassuring communication builds confidence. Committed communication builds stronger communities.